Dawson. For more information, visit faithonfire.tv. Faith on fire. This is Faith on Fire. Put your faith on fire. Put your faith. You are now listening to Faith on Fire. Welcome back to another episode of Faith on Fire. Listen, I am truly fired up about this one. I'm excited to introduce you guys, for those of you who don't know, to this awesome man of God, Anthony Trucks. In my opinion, he doesn't need much of an introduction, but I do realize that not everybody in the world knows everybody. So if you're not familiar with him, Anthony Trucks, man, he grew up. I know a little bit about your childhood. You were in the foster care system for a period of time, went on to overcome a lot of childhood trauma to make it to the NFL. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Washington Redskins, for all my DMV folks here. Shout out to DC and Maryland. And from there, man, you hit another low in life where I heard you mention on the Power to Pivot Immersion One Day event recently that you were in survival mode, but you've since fought your way out of that survival mode, and now you're thriving in life. So I'm excited to have you on the show, man. It's an honor to have you with us. Thank you for being on Faith on Fire.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. It's always good when you get to be with people who have good energy and are pros at it. So I appreciate you, man.
No doubt. That means a lot coming from you, man. So we'll hop right into this thing because I really want people to get a lot out of our conversation. You got the new book, right? Yeah. Identity Shift, which looks amazing, man. Just the subtitle alone. Something about upgrade how you operate to elevate your life, right?
Yeah, I pulled the cardinal sin. I traveled without my book. I realized I don't have it. I usually have it when I go places. I'm like, oh, I'm out here without my book. My bad.
Hey, you were so focused on getting out there with your son, man, that you forgot your books. But it's all good. Definitely looking forward to giving out a few of those copies to some of our fans, man, and other believers that are out there. But let me ask you this question. I like to ask a lot of people this, but what was that moment in your life? We talked a little bit through email about faith shift, right? Mm-hmm. When did the faith shift happen in your journey where like something changed on the inside, like that transformation occurred? How did that happen? When did it happen? Like, what did that look like for you?
I know exactly what happened. It was an odd situation. You don't even know this story. You're about to learn something too. So what it was 2001. I want to say 2001, maybe early 2002. And so I was a guy that was trying to get into colleges, right? So I was a high school football player, trying to go to the next level. And when I had a guy that come out from like a local high school, he went out to Washington State as a quarterback named Chris Hurd. So Chris is out there in Washington State, and somehow like in the summertime, he comes back in my junior year and he throws the ball with me as a quarterback. I was a wide receiver / linebacker. And so he comes out and we throw the ball around. He's like, dude, you're pretty good. He's like, I want to tell my college coach up here, like, you should come. He's like, hey guys up here that you're better than. I'm like, really? So
nice.
So he goes back and tells him, and it's funny, like, Washington State decides to fly me up for a workout. Now, because they had shown interest, a bunch of schools started showing interest. But this is what happens. You go up to a school, and what they try to do is it's pretty much a courting process. They're trying to get you to want to go to the school. So they have somebody host you, and this person is a host. They show you around. Now, at the time, I had a girlfriend who I was in love with, eventually became my wife, still is. And so like I went up there and there's a guy, showing me around. We go to this house party. Now I don't know much about Chris and his background. I just know I played football against him at a rival high school. We threw the ball in the summertime. But I'm at this party and somebody grabs me and walks to the back of the room when he's rooms in his house, and I go, hey, pick one. And against the wall, like, these women not like picking out, but like they're all hanging out. They're like, pick one of those girls. And I'm like, and then in my head, I'm like, I don't do all this. And our family growing up, we weren't like heavy into faith. It was more of like, we're Christians on Easter and Christmas, like that's
okay.
Kind of how we ran.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So eventually I'm sitting there stuck, and this guy, Chris, comes walking out of a hallway somewhere. And I'm like, oh, what's up, Chris? What's up, Trucks? What's up, man? He goes, want to go for a walk? I was like, yeah, I want to go for a walk. So we leave and he walks through the stadium, and we go to the stadium in Washington State. We go to I think it's the home side. We go to the top of the bleachers, and it's, it's snowing outside-ish. I want to say it's the wintertime, like around the football season. And he goes, hey man, what's your kind of relationship with God and faith? I go, man, same thing. It's like, what kind of Christians on Easter and Christmas? He goes, man, well, you're about to go into this world where you're going to have nobody really overseeing you, and you're going to have access to a lot more than the young man probably needs. He's like, I says, I want to say it was his freshman year. I mean, he was pretty wise for his age, to be quite honest. But anyways, he goes, yeah, he goes, the thing that keeps me anchored is my faith. He's like, you're gonna have access to women and to drugs and to people and stuff. He's like, if you don't have a base, you might get lost in the tornado of it. I was like, cool, man. That was like the gist of the conversation. Nothing more. He kind of left
Wow.
it there. Now we're not done yet. This is when it gets weird. And so I end up, the next day I end up like committing to Washington State, and I go home and I'm like, I'm gonna go to Washington State. I like this place. It's cool. And so I get in a flight and I head home. When I land in San Francisco, and I live in a town called Antioch at the time. It's about an hour, 15, hour 20 from the airport if you're driving. So we have a taxi. The school sets you up with a taxi, right? So we land. There's a guy outside holding my name, and it's like this guy's probably like I'm like 6'1", so the guy's probably like around. I'm thinking like 5'9", 5'10". He's got olive skin, short brown hair that goes with his shoulders, and he's standing in front of this burgundy van. And I walk out, and I say that to tell you that the dude looked dead on Jesus, and it's a very
Really?
interesting thing. I'm not even. I think is I really I say it. I think people think it. There's got to be someone that's probably thought, "Oh, he's just saying it because it sounds good for the story." And I'm telling you, man,
Yeah.
the dude. Anyways, we get in the van. Dude doesn't even say anything before this. The first thing he says is, "Are you saved?" First thing he
Wow.
says. I was like, "That's very weird." And he goes, "Why?" I go, "Because I was just at this trip I took, and this guy had a conversation." He goes, "Well, probably on an accident." He says, "Do you mind if I kind of share my testimony with you?" And proceeded to tell me his entire testimony, to which I forgot. I have forgotten the entire thing he told me.
You remember what he
But
looks
this,
like though?
I remember what it looked like. I remember him just pouring in because when you're listening to somebody talk, it's a long drive, and you hear the story, and then you start hearing everybody's testimony over the years. You can't tell what's what and where it's mixed up. But anyway, so the guy gets in the car and he drives me to my house, and I stop a block from my house. I think it was called Ashley. It was Ashley Street, Heather Street. I want to say we stopped at. It was Ashley Court off Heather Street. He's like, "Hey, do you mind if I pray and you accept Christ into your life?" I was like, "Dude, do it." So about a block from my house, man, with some strange man in the middle of the night, I accepted Christ into my life, and from there, that was where everything kind of pivoted, man. It was a transition. Because prior to that, man, I've run the streets. I got arrested for breaking into cars a year before. I was going the statistical side of what foster kids experience, and in my family, not even my immediate family or my aunts and uncles, edges of it. No one's gone to college. It's not the norm. Like
Mhm.
we don't do that. And so for me, it was this thing where like I look at my life and it could have been vastly different, and I could have went off the dark edges easily. But when I got to college, man, I was anchored. Like I don't think I cussed really throughout college, throughout the pros. I might cuss a little more now, but I don't like to. But it was like this. I was dialed. And so when I was having my son my sophomore year of college, like I'm gonna be a good dad. Seriously, those moments before anchored me to where I had the foundation. So when life happened, I had a foothold of where to go that was proper.
Man, and it's so important that we have our identity anchored in the right place, man.
Yeah.
And what I love about that story, I always make this statement that one conversation, one word, one interaction with God or someone who represents him can literally change your life forever.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with me. That's what happened with you. And I think that's why it's so important that we're bold and courageous in our faith, man. Like, think about the rooms that we walk into, right? And the people that we're around, high achievers, high performers, extremely successful, rich. But to be able to be bold with your faith like you are and say, hey, you really want to know why I'm as successful as I am, right? And
Yeah.
point them back to Jesus, man. That's just awesome, man. So I thank God for that guy who shared that word with you, man. Because
Me
just
too.
imagine what your life would have been like if Chris and then the man who looked like Jesus didn't have that conversation and dialogue with you. So
Yeah. They
that's
were in the right place at the right time.
that's awesome. And that's why we got to be the best versions of ourselves, right? Because if I'm not on it, if I'm having a bad day and I go to the grocery store and God wants to use me to minister, to share a word with somebody, if I don't feel like it and I choose to stay in my feelings, man, somebody else could miss their blessing. So thank
Mhm.
you for sharing that, man. That's awesome. So how did you keep that fire? Like the fire I see in you today, man, some of the posts that you do, like we
Mhm.
share that same level of energy, man. Like I'll get up on stage and shout, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you keep that fire? How do you keep that level of consistency?
Shoot, to be honest, I think it went out at one point. I had to relight it, and then the process of relighting it's kind of what got me here. It's a journey, man. It's a long life. I think it's a long
Yeah.
life, and I think there's stages where we're meant to go through more trials. I don't think, and I know I'll have more in the future. My kids will grow up, and all the things I face in business, relationship, future. not because I want to, but because it's just the journey of it. But to keep it, I think it's sad to say, but I think sometimes you have to get to close to losing it, man. Like you have to get to the point
Mm,
of really appreciating something. Because when something's given to you without sacrifice or given to you without you working for it, I think you end up losing out on the true value of it, we'll call it. And for me, when I come home from the NFL, like my marriage fell apart, and I did fall from my faith. Marriage fell apart. Wasn't a good dad. Business was sucking. I was out of shape. Like I didn't really feel like a good human, and I strayed, man. And I call it the dark times. Like my wife and I, we call it the dark times now because we did get divorced, and we were in just a really tough place, man. And when you go through and look at those times of my life, all I was good at was distracting myself from the pain. Distracting by, hanging out with people, having multiple partners and just different stuff that you like the TV sadly like portrays as being the awesome way to live life. And then after years of doing it, I just felt ridiculously empty. I felt shameful. I literally woke up one day. I was like, I hate the guy looking back at the mirror. I didn't like that man.
I've been there,
And
man.
then, yeah, I think that's right. And look how strong you are in your faith because we have those weird moments. And it's like you get
Yeah,
to the point of going, at first you're a kid and you're brought. And then at some point you grow up and you go, I'm gonna do it on my own because we're stupid sometimes, we're humans. And then we do our thing and then we go, wow, like there actually was something to it. And then you come back with a different sense of joy and appreciation for everything. And
I
so
agree.
now that's like what keeps it there. I think the biggest thing is I appreciate what I have because I know what it's like not to have it. Right. I appreciate the my marriage that was, rekindled after 3 years completely gone, right? My wife's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Last night she was being a butthead because she had to drive people around. This morning she's being a butthead too. But at the end of the day, like there's a depth of love, right? We're human. But I have like my health, I have my kids, I have peace. Dude, like I sleep really, really well at night because I don't have any worries. I don't tell lies. It's just I live in a clean space, so my heart is light. I
Mhm.
operate from a light space. I have a great depth of energy and heart to give. And I know that there's no things that I do in the dark that'll come to the light and be like, look at this guy, he's lying. So I live in this really interesting space that was very hard to get to, but it's a constant present appreciation for it that keeps me in that space of joy.
Would you agree that that place of gratitude and every day waking up thankful and being mindful and aware of the things that we're grateful for on a daily basis, like is a key contributor to your success? And
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
100%. There's no question. I
yeah,
mean, if you think about it, there's certain things you got to do, especially in my world, right? My world of being a face in the public eye. I think
right.
one of the greatest, detriments to most people's ability to climb is the internal conversation they have of what if somebody finds out.
Wow,
That's
that's
my
good.
belief. I may be wrong, right? But I
Yeah,
think to myself, what would shut me down? It would be me doing something that I'd be like, what if somebody finds out? So I don't want to get too high in the totem pole because if they do, I got farther to fall, right? That drives them in a different space. And I think no matter what your dream is in some capacity, like that's a piece of it.
mm,
And so the faith part of it for me is that's where that comes from. I make decisions heavily based on something bigger than me. It may not be something I want to do. I may not want to apologize or give the
right.
refund for something, right? But I sit back and I go, oof, yeah, yeah, but I know. And if I know, he knows. And I don't want to have that on me because then
That's
somebody else,
good.
so I'm like, all right. So I operate in ways. And it's not always against. Usually it's in my book of what I would want to do, but I can't be 100% and be like, I want to do that all the time. Right.
Right.
But my faith anchors me there. And then it also keeps me in line with what's the most important. Right. I
Yeah,
lost everything because I put myself above everything. I didn't put God and what God puts as the most important parts of we're supposed to honor in humanity important. At one point, I had
100%.
a pastor of mine. He says, "Hey, business is not doing well." He says, "What about making God your business partner?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, man?" He
Hey
goes, "Think
man, I
about
had
it.
my
Like,
wife say that to me. I
yeah,
was like
right,
1 year into business as a full-time entrepreneur, like 5 years ago. And I was complaining. I'm like, babe, I didn't leave a six-figure job for this. Like, what's going on? And she goes, honey, have you gone to God for your strategy? like have you made him your business partner? Like, are you doing business with him or are you just trying to do this thing on your own? So
yeah,
I love that, man. And what's interesting about what you said, how you're right, as humans, we're not perfect. But I love a scripture in Second Samuel. It says that God's way is perfect and he makes our way perfect. So when
yeah,
we go with God and we do it his way, we walk in that level of maturity. That word perfection in the Bible also means maturity, where our actions line up with what he would have us to do and with his word. And that's, I think, the greatest space that we can be in, man. I love that. So talk to me about the book. Like, why identity? You could have wrote about so many other things. Why
Mhm.
identity shift, and talk to people about the importance of identity and how you make that shift so that you're making awesome shifts and not all, like horrible
Yeah.
shifts in your life.
But they're
So
all us shifts. They're all. I mean, any shift is an amazing shift. It's amazing bad or amazing good typically. But the thing is, there's a message and a messenger, and I was told this and taught this years ago. Of like, there's people who are actually good at speaking, talking. They have the ability to be messengers, right? But then
Mhm.
sometimes they don't have the right message, and so it falls on the wrong hearts, or it falls on hearts the wrong way. Think Hitler, great messenger, poor message. And so the idea is if you understand how to be able to pair a message and a messenger, I think that's where amazing things can happen, good or bad, obviously. And so for me, identity was this thing that I've always kind of struggled with from a kid growing up. The foster kid, the black kid in all white family, poor kid, sports sucking, so sports and being good at sports, and then a young father, finding my father, NFL, no NFL, just all these things. Been a lot of different identities I've navigated, and I've realized in hindsight that a lot of my success and failure always came because I either did or did not know who I was at identity level or operate in line with the identity of who I
that's
should
good.
have been at the time, right? So the importance of identity really is the core of all. We'll talk about mindset, we'll even talk about faith, but we are always in our own heads. And I think there's this thought of, for me, whenever we're sitting in moments of big discussion internally, usually we're going to go in line with who we see ourselves to be. So no matter
Right.
what the action is, big or small, if I see myself as something, I want to go to bed at night knowing I stayed in alignment with who I saw myself to be.
That's
And
good.
so
That's
when
good.
people want to accomplish something, do something, they're trying to stay at this person here, but have something more. And it's like, well, you're not going to have that thing more unless you are the person who deserves more. So whether it's you believe that you should be forgiven, well, if you don't have a relationship with God, it's like, well, then in your identity level, like you don't see yourself as the person who should be forgiven. So it's this always
Right.
this contention. So for
That's
me,
good.
identity is a big thing. This book is no way biblical. It's very left brain and conceptual in terms of how to make a shift from a tactical, actionable standpoint. But I think that was what, in my opinion, the world needed with it is a simplification of the concept and a way to apply it. So the
That's
book is a way
good,
for you
man.
to understand the concept. Here's what it is, and also go, okay, how do I do it? Oh, here's how to do it.
I love that. I love that. So, what advice would you give to people right now that are in that survival mode place that you were in life, right?
Mm,
Where they feel like they're
yeah.
scratching and crawling just to make it, or they're at a place on the brink of throwing in the towel or quitting on their business or quitting on their marriage, or, they just feel defeated. Like,
Mm,
what were some things that you did and that you would recommend that they can do to shift their identity first? Because we know it's a lot of it's built in the image and how we see ourselves.
yeah.
What advice would you give people that are in that place that you were?
Well, it is. It's actually, it was advice in this process, right? So the advice would be essentially to step back and let go of the ego, we'll call it, because the ego
Okay.
is this interesting monster where it stands for everyone's greatest obstacle, in my opinion. It's the thing that all of us battle because if you never give the ego time to subside, then you'll never give yourself permission to improve. And that's what I think a lot of us
Mm,
that we're dealing with is like we haven't owned up and publicly said like, yeah, I got to work on that. And
right.
then when you do that, now you go to the actual process, right? So that's the first step. Like, I'm going to work on something. Now the process is, well, what do we work on? Most of the time, people go to stuff that looks good or feels easy or they saw somebody else do. And the problem with that is that you never actually fix your holes in your bucket. You're doing the things somebody else is doing to plug the holes in the spots that they have holes, but not
Hmm.
yourself. So the process is what I call the shift method. It's actually in the book. It's where my coaching goes through, but it's three steps: see, shift, and sustain. And I frame it up in terms of like tying it to like the zone. I think when you're in like the right identity for what you want to accomplish, you're in the zone. Like an athlete gets in the zone, you're in the zone. And so the
Yeah.
first stage is see, and it's tied to what's called seeing your zone lags. So can you see the things that are keeping you out of the zone that you honestly emotionally probably don't want to admit or see? And that's
That's
really, I
good.
think, what the biggest thing is. Most people, they don't want to have to admit that I'm a bad dad or a bad husband or no one wants to do that because the ego's in a way and I don't see it. So therefore I'll do other stuff that feels comfortable, but at the same time I get to the end and I'm broken. I'm broken inside and I'm tired and I got
Right.
nowhere. Well, it's because, yeah, you were doing the wrong stuff. So
Mm,
zone lies a big piece. The
That's good.
second thing is once you've seen the zone lags, now you go to what's called creating your own individualized shift plan or personalized shift plan, whatever you want to call it. The reason is because now you have the ability to say, what's my personal plan of action? Now you're in a space where you can actually chart it out, take a look at it, and start moving down the path towards fixing it. Now, some people, they'll figure out what it is because, like, all right, I need to work on that. Okay, great. Then, like, how
Right.
do you fix it? Well, I'm going to do this. Okay, great. And they do it for a day, 2 days, right? And this leads to the third thing, which is where everything takes place for a true identity shift.
Okay.
Once you've got some things moving, the last piece is what I call a discipline system, sustain. Most people will take an action for a little bit of time, but they don't sustain. And so what happens when you don't sustain is now you get to a space where like you've had some traction, but it was too hard, so you stopped, and now you don't make progress past where you're at, and you have the added shame of quitting or failing. It's a
Mm,
problem. So now it compounds. And so I'm really big on once you get going, you need to have a discipline system because the only way out is up. At that point, like, it's the only way to go down is up kind of thing. Like that's you got to stay. And here's
man.
what happens. There's a moment. You ever been to a coffee shop and you're working on something, and then all of a sudden, like you're scrolling, and you're like, I gotta focus. And you sit down and focus, and it's like difficult to focus for a minute,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And then what happens is odd thing where like you for the first 5 minutes it's stressful. You're trying to focus, and all of a sudden 2 hours goes by, and you pop up. You're like, oh wow, where the 2 hours go? You know
Right.
that is how a typical identity shift works. It's like the
Okay.
first 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 2 weeks. It's like it's work, but then after a while, all of a sudden, like a month, 2 months, 3 months slides by, and you wake up. You go, wow, I'm in better shape. I got it. My business is running smoother. My relationship's great. I'm a better parent. Things are moving, and you start to try to go back mentally to the person that you used to be, and you realize
Mm.
like I don't even know how I used to
You
think,
can't. You can't.
right? And then that's when
Yeah.
you should notice like I've made a shift. I've shifted into a different person, and I own different things. I feel more comfortable saying this is who I am now because I've done the work, and your life looks different.
Man, Anthony, this is so good. So let's just dig a little bit deeper on that last point, establishing the discipline plan.
Mhm.
So for me, when I keep things in front of me, it helps keep it in focus. It helps continue to keep that drive going, right? If I say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to be disciplined in working out, I create a plan, a challenge for myself. I set a schedule. I say I'm working out 5 days a week. This is the
Mhm.
time. This is the place. This is what I'm doing. But if I don't keep it in front of me, if I don't put it on my whiteboard, if I don't put it in my calendar, out of sight, out of mind, I typically won't stay really consistent with it. So,
Yeah.
what's one or two practical things people can do to stay and remain consistent? Because that's a challenge that I've had in my life in times past, and I
Mhm.
even want to get better at consistency. So, what's something that people could do to get more, be more consistent
Yeah.
and
Well,
disciplined?
discipline is interesting because discipline is like it means the thing about disciple means to follow,
Right?
disciple the plan, discipline. So the
Yeah.
problem is most people don't have a proper plan to follow. They have a they have a destination they want to get to, but it's like I'm gonna go west as opposed to like I'm gonna take L Street and I'm gonna take a right on 22nd and then I'm gonna go,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
like there's not an actual plan. You just have a
That's good.
direction you want to move. So for me, it's like you've got to before you can be disciplined, you got to have a proper plan. And that plan should not be comprised of everything you want to do for the next year crammed into a week. Because then you get down the path, you're like, I'm moving, I'm trying to get something, you're like, oh, I can't get this done. And then again, it's like you let yourself down. It's like that's just the wrong way
Right.
to do it. So make a plan and have the plan have the proper things that you can progress into. But the goal is to get to the point where you get normalized to a new pace. Like
Okay.
I try to set new normals for people, right?
Mm.
For example, a new normal in the beginning, maybe for a morning routine, which is a good thing for most people, is like you want to get to the day started powerfully. You should set a new normal or a new process that allows you to get to a flow of what it feels like to actually be at a stage where like I am on a big trek going by. I was wondering what that was. Where I have this process and plan that anchors me to the day, and it's only 15 minutes, and it feels smooth. And after a while, it's like, man, I feel normalized this. And here's what I say by normalize. There are things that would move the needle. They know would be great things, but doing them in the beginning feels like pulling teeth. It's just difficult. It's hard. It's arduous. But done long enough in certain ways, after a while, the same way it was hard to do it, it
Yeah.
becomes more difficult
Easy.
to not do it. Yeah, easy's part of it,
Yeah.
but it's beyond easy. It's this thing where because it's who I am now, and I'm so in line with it, and I'm so disciplined to it. It would be difficult for me to go to bed at night knowing I didn't do it.
Absolutely. 100%.
That that's the thing that people
100%.
Yeah, they aren't trying to get to it. They're trying to get it done and hopefully get the outcome, and then I'm gonna stop at some point. No, it's not this thing where I'm looking across the finish line. It's like I'm looking to be able to run a lifelong marathon with this now as part of who I am. So I get up in the morning 15 minutes earlier and I meditate and I stretch. Like that should be
I
part
love
of
it.
it to where it's new normal and you'd feel weird if you didn't do it. That's a big piece of it.
And
And I think that's
enjoying the journey, enjoying the
part of it.
journey, man. So many people make things like arduous.
Yeah,
If
they
you
do.
say you're going to start a new workout plan, like enjoy it. Put some things in there that you enjoy to do. If you love to run, go run. Don't do something else. It's
Yeah,
like
don't go
making
hiking if
it
you don't want to hike. Yeah, don't buy a rower at the house if you're not going to enjoy rowing. There should be things
right,
to enjoy. And then I think the last piece you do touch on it. It's fall in love with the day, not the destination. I think so many people are
mm,
going to fall in love with only the destination, which means you're always presently unhappy because you aren't where you want to be. But if you fall in love with the day, like fall in love with the day's process, the day's activities, all the day's stuff, what happens is you'll do those things because you love doing them, and then lo and behold, you'll pop up and go, "Oh, look where I'm at! I'm at my destination."
hey, and if you win the day and you do that every day, you look up, 5, 10 years from now, and you're like on top, where you want to be, living your dream, enjoying life, experiencing
Mhm.
that level of fulfillment that only God can give. I heard this great quote today. I was listening to the word David Jeremiah. He said, a lot of times happiness is in happenings, but joy
Mhm.
can only really come from the Lord and living out your purpose and being who God's called you to be, man. So
Mhm.
that's some good stuff. I can't wait to dive into the book, man. I want to encourage everybody right now to go out and get the book at identityshiftbook.com or wherever
Yeah,
you get a book, Amazon. I mean, it's everywhere, right? Barnes and
yeah.
Noble. This has been an amazing conversation. Are you ready for the hot seat? We're going to jump into the hot seat real quick before we wrap
Yeah,
up.
man. How's it? Oh,
Uh,
and if you guys want to get if you go get the book and then go to that same link, you'll get the audio book for free. You'll get the digital book for free and a workbook that goes along with it. So go there, do the little process, and use the code FOF, Faith on Fire, but FOF.
I love it. I love it. And make sure you follow Anthony on Instagram, man. This dude is always pushing out just daily, just knowledge that can really help you to take your life to the next level and elevate. So, man, again, I'm really excited about having you on. Let's jump into this hot seat.
Hot
Uh, in
seat.
post in post production, you'll hear the siren go off. All right.
Okay.
What are you most excited about right now? What are you working on in life that like is just burning on the inside of you that you're most excited about?
My kids, man. I'm excited. Like I'm
Mm,
here at my son. Like generally, like I'm excited to see what they create in life. I mean, I've done some cool things, and I
yeah.
will continue to do cool things. But I think the coolest thing is be able to make sure that like I give the kids the tools and abilities and opportunities to go do cool things too. So it's not just Anthony. It's the family. It's the unit. It's the legacy.
100%, man. Tell me, what's like a strange hobby or interest that you have that maybe, your friends like Brendan Bouchard don't know, that maybe you haven't talked about, like something that you do that's just
Strange
like
hobby.
weird or strange, like taking cold showers or,
Well, it's
what?
not strange in our world. Everybody does.
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody
that's
does
true.
those things. I
That's
do
true.
this when I gotta get up in the wintertime. It's horrible. Nowadays it's hot. The water doesn't get cold enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's a weird thing that I do? I don't know. For some reason, I found that whenever I'm at my house, like if I want to take my shoes off, I'll take my left or like one shoe off, and then I'll never make it to the other shoe. And people like my wife and son will come in like, "Dad, why do you only have one shoe?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I meant to take them both off, and I got one done, and the other one didn't follow. So it's weird. I
That's
don't know.
hilarious, man. It's kind of like when you stick your one leg out of the covers, like during the wintertime, just to cool off a
Yeah,
little bit when
a
the
little
heat's
bit.
going.
I don't
I
even know,
love
but
it.
it's like I want them both off. But I feel like I have this weird itch of where I always got to be ready to go. Like I don't like being naked in my home too long because like what if something
Okay.
happens and I got to run around? So like I'm in and out of showers fast for that reason too. It's a weird thing.
Man, I love being in the shower. My wife complains about how much water I use up. I'm like, I put
Yeah, that's my
aromatherapy
son.
oils in the shower, man. And
Yeah, my son's like
uh,
that. They've been there forever.
hey, so I understand that you love to travel.
Uh-huh.
What's one of the best places that you've ever traveled to that really sticks out in your mind? You're like, man, that was an amazing trip, and I recommend somebody go if you get a chance.
Yeah, man, it's been a couple places I've gone. We had a great time in Costa Rica. We had an issue while being there that forced our family to come home real quick. But it was a very peaceful place. Like it was just before that stuff took place. It was like when I think about it now, the absolute most peaceful place I've ever existed while
Mm,
alive.
okay, good stuff. What's on your bucket list? Like somewhere where you want to go, where you're like, this is
Dude, lots of. I want to go watch the hot air balloons, and I think it's Morocco. I'm not 100% sure. I want to go some of those like cool beaches in Italy. I don't know, man. I would definitely want to go to like New Zealand and see like where they film like the Lord of the Rings type stuff. I just want to go, man. I want to go experience a
Nice,
cool planet God gave us that
nice.
we can go see nowadays.
Yeah, Rome and Italy is definitely on our list.
Mm,
Um, do you
definitely.
normally take the kids with you, or just the
We
missus?
haven't. We've never crossed the ocean with the kids, but we do travel like a lot of cruises. You know, like on the state side, we'll call this. You know, we'll call it the North America side, but we
Yeah,
have yet
yeah.
to go take them across the pond.
Hey, another spot, Canada. I don't know if you've been. I was in Ottawa not
Never
too long
been,
ago, right before COVID. Man,
dude.
Canada is awesome. You got to check out. They call it the
I
Triangle,
hear.
which is Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. You can kind of hit
Yeah,
all that in one trip. So
I've
definitely
yet to
check out
do it.
Canada. What's your best part of being a father?
Best
What do you love
part.
most about being a dad?
Uh, I got a bunch of cool friends, man. I got little friends. That's the best part of it. I mean, they're people. Like they're cool. It's like they're cool people you get to raise in a sense, but they're
Yeah,
not subordinates. Like at the end of the day, we have chores. We parent them. Don't get me wrong, but I like them as humans. Like they individually have their own like little quirks, and so like we thoroughly enjoy, as I believe, as a family, we could be around each other. Like you get people's nerves once in a while, but we can all be around each other for long periods of time, and I love it. Like we don't think someone's too oddball to not be part of the family. Like everybody gets what we do. We all work hard. Like it's. I think that the coolest part is like it's a group of people that I actually thoroughly enjoy being around.
I agree, man. And I love those teaching moments. When we can
Mhm.
share things that took us years to learn with our kids that they can get
Yeah,
like that and
if they
run with it.
listen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And the awesome part about God, man, even though he's our father, he's our heavenly father, he also calls us friend. So how much
mm,
more are we supposed to be that model for our kids where they're with their authority, with their fathers, and mothers, but we're also their friends, man. And
mhm.
that's where true relationship gets developed in that friendship. So
I
last but
agree.
not least, man, what are 2 or 3 success habits on a daily basis that people can apply to their life to elevate and experience greater levels of success?
Do something that makes you proud of yourself. I think that's one thing. It's like you got to do something that's a little bit difficult that makes you proud of the person you are each day. I don't know what that looks like. I find myself in the middle of workouts that I'm like, I don't want to do this. And no one would know if I stopped. No
Right.
one absolutely in the world would know if I ever decided not to finish a workout, but I finish them. And I feel good about myself, right? It can be something as simple as like get all the emails done, whatever. Just do something that makes you feel proud of yourself. And then outside of that, man, I think you need to stay in relation to good humans. We're built for connection. We're built for relationship. So I think you need to be in those with good people because that makes life livable and more fun.
Absolutely, man. 100%. I want to just generally thank you again. I know I did in private, but I thank God for this connection. I look forward to hopefully the relationship getting to grow and just continuing to learn from you, man. I've learned so much even just in this conversation, and hopefully that feeling is mutual. But take a moment, Anthony, and look directly in the camera. I'm going to come off screen for a moment, and I
Mhm.
just want you to give like one final word, something that's maybe on your heart as it relates to identity or just life in general. Imagine there's
Yeah.
a young Anthony Trucks out there right now watching this who is where you were 10, 15, 20 years ago, and just take a moment and give them a word from your heart, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
So right now we are in this time of life where it's never quite been as beautiful and as opportunity ridden as it has been now. Like in terms of the entire length of humanity, we can connect, we can interact, we can travel, we can see things. And in the world that you're living in right now, as far as something may feel it is because it's in a phone or it's on a TV screen somewhere, it is nowhere near as distant away as you think it is. The only separation between you and having that thing right now is choosing at some point to become the kind of person that has that thing. So if you want the nice house, you want the nice car, it's going to take a journey, it's going to take time. But to be honest, it's not about understanding what has to be done, but become the person who will in time get that. Right? The person overcomes, that perseveres, that learns, that grows, that has compassion, that apologizes, that shows faith. Like if you can figure out who that person is, you craft them in your mind and then shift into that person through actions, you'll find that that world becomes less distant and more present in your life. So go out and get cool stuff, man. See a cool life, experience all this great stuff, and realize the path to getting there is becoming the person who has that.
man, when we be
Think I lost you there, Rob. Oh, Rob disappeared. You know what I think? I think Rob actually clicked himself off and left the studio. Oh, there he goes. We found
got
him.
a little technology, right?
Yeah.
But no, I was saying, man, if you want more, you got to become more in life. So I really encourage people to lean into what you just shared from your heart, man. That is awesome. I think that sums up our conversation really, really well. Anthony, how can people stay connected with you, man?
Yeah, just go to Instagram, man, at Anthony Trucks. The fastest way to find me on there. I'm constantly on there. My wife will let you know that's where I spend most of my time. I'm not a big consumer, but I do engage with people a lot. But outside of that, man, go to get the book, identityshiftbook.com.
Absolutely. And make sure that you subscribe to his podcast, man. You got a pretty awesome podcast. You actually got 2 podcasts. I got to step it up a little bit, man.
Yeah,
I don't know how you do 2 podcasts, but I'm going to get there.
Man. I'm a systems guy. I got a lot of good team and I got great systems that allow me to be able to get things done. But yeah, just you'd be surprised. I get a lot more done than most people just by simply eliminating all the headaches and doing things with simple process.
I agree, man. And get the right people around you, right? Surround yourself with the right people and listen to them. Hey, last but not least, man, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Make sure you like, comment, share, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Wherever you listen, man, just plug in, stay connected. That's the key. When you find amazing people like Anthony Trucks, you want to lean into them. You want to listen. You want to follow the principles. The Bible says to follow those who faith and patience inherit the promise. So if we just take the principles that this man taught us today, we apply it to our life and we put our own personality on it, continue to be who God has called you to be. You want to be authentic, but principles work for those who work the principles, man. So Anthony, thank you for being here. This has been amazing, man. I look forward to continuing to watch your journey, everything God is doing in your life. My prayer is just Bible promise return to you, man, that God continues to increase you in every area of your life, but most importantly with your family, with your marriage, and with your relationship with him, man. So I really appreciate it. Look forward to doing this again sometime soon.
Yes, sir. Count me in, man.
Awesome.